Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning back in to a little bit more of Out of the Dust. We pick up in autumn of 1935. This one's called Cut It Deep. I went in with Daddy to see Doc Rice. Doc said, "Why'd you wait so long to show someone those spots, Bayard?" I scowled at Daddy. He looked at the wall. I think he didn't care much if he had some cancer and took and died. Figured he'd see Ma then. He'd see my brother. It'd be out of his hands. He'd be out of the dust. Now he's going to wear bandages where Doc cut the cancer out the best that he could, and we'll have to wait and hope Daddy didn't get help too late. I asked Doc about my hands. "What," I say, "can I do with them?" Doc looks carefully at the mottled skin and stretched and stripped and cracked skin. "Quit picking at them," he says. "Rub some ointment in them before you go to bed," he says. "And use them, Billy Joe," he says. "They'll heal up fine if you just use them." Daddy sits on my bed, so I open the boxes, the two boxes that have been in my closet for years now. The dust is over everything, but I blow it off, and Daddy is so quiet when he sees some of the things. They're still so strong of Ma, and we end up keeping everything but a palm full of broken doll dishes. I thought once to go through these boxes with Ma, but Daddy is sitting on the edge of my bed. My mouth feels cottony. I fix dinner, and Daddy tells me about when he was a boy. He says, "I wasn't always sure about the wheat, about the land, about life in the panhandle. I dreamed of running off too, though I never did. I didn't have half your sauce, Billy Joe," he says, "and it's the first time I ever knew there was so much to the two of us, so much more than our red hair and our long legs and the way we rub our eyes when we're tired." That was October of 1935. This one's called The Other Woman. Her name is Louise. She stayed by Daddy the days I was away. The first time I met her, she came to dinner bringing 2 baskets of food. She's a good cook without showing off. She has a way of making my father do things. When Louise came to dinner, Daddy got up and cleaned the kitchen when we were done eating. He tied an apron around his middle, and he looked silly as a cow, stuck in a hole, but Louise ignored that, and I took a lesson from her. We walked around the farm, even though she'd probably already seen it while I was gone. She didn't ask to be taken to my favorite places, the loft and the barn, the banks of the Beaver, the fields where you can see Black Mesa on a clear day. She told me she knew Daddy and I had a history before her, and she wished she'd been there for the whole thing, but she wasn't, and there wasn't anything to do but get over it and get on. We both stared in wonder at the pond my daddy made, and she said, "A hole like that says a lot about a man." I didn't intend to, but I liked her because she was so plain and so honest, and because she made Daddy laugh, and me too, just like that. And even though I didn't know if there was room for her in me, I could see there was room for her in Daddy. When I asked him if he wanted me to go off to Aunt Ellis after all, Daddy said he'd never wanted it. He'd said I was his own, and he didn't like to think about what Aunt Ellis might do with me. And we laughed, picturing me and Aunt Ellis together. And it wasn't a nice laugh, but it was Aunt Ellis that we were talking about after all. The thing about Louise, I'll just have to watch how things go and hope she doesn't crowd me out of Daddy's life. Not now, when I'm just finding my way back to him. Okay, that was October of 1935, and so is this one. This one's called Not Everywhere. I walk with Daddy up the slope and look out over the Beaver River. Louise is back at the house. She wanted to come, but this is Ma's place, Ma's grave, Franklin's too, and Louise has no business here. She wants to come everywhere with us. Well, I won't let her. Not everywhere. Daddy says, "She could have come. There's room enough for everyone, Billy Joe." But there's not. She came into Ma's kitchen, or she can come into Ma's kitchen. She can hang around the barn. She can sit beside Daddy when he drives the truck. But Ma's bones are in this hill, Ma's and Franklin's. And their bones wouldn't like it if Louise came walking up here between us. This one's called My Life and What I Told Louise After the 10th Time She Came to Dinner. I may look like Daddy, but I have my mother's hands. Piano hands, Ma called them, sneaking a look at them any chance she got. A piano is a grand thing, I say, though ours is covered in dust now. Under the grime, it's dark brown, like my mother's eyes. I think about the piano and how above it hangs a mirror, and to either side of that mirror, shelves where Ma and Daddy's wedding pictures once stood, though Daddy has taken that down. Whenever she could, Ma filled a bowl with apples, I tell Louise. I'm crazy about apples, and she filled a jar with wildflowers when she found them and put them on the shelf above the piano. On the other shelf, Ma's book of poetry remains, and the invitation from Aunt Ellis, or what's left of it. Daddy and I tore it into strips to mark the poems we thought Ma liked best. We weren't always happy, I told Louise, but we were happy enough until the accident. When I rode the train west, I went looking for something, but I didn't see anything wonderful. I didn't see anything better than what I already had. Home. I looked straight into Louise's face. Louise doesn't flinch. She looks straight back. I am the first one to back down. My hands don't look really pretty anymore, but they hardly hurt. They only ache a little sometimes. I could play right now, maybe, if I could get the dust out of the piano, if I wanted to get the dust out of the piano, but I don't. I'm not ready yet. And what I like best about her is Louise doesn't say what I should do. She just nods, and I know she's heard everything I said and some things that I didn't say too. That was November of 1935. This one is too, and it's called November Dust. The wheat is growing, even though dust blows in sometimes. I walk with Daddy around the farm and see that the pond is holding its own. It will keep Ma's apple trees alive, nourish her garden, help the grass around it grow, enough to lie in and dream, if I feel like it, and stand in and wait for Mad Dog when he comes past once a week on his way from Armadillo, where he works for the radio. And as long as the dust doesn't crush the winter wheat, we'll have something to show in the spring for all of Daddy's hard work. Not a lot, but more than last year. All right, we will pause there. Check back next time for a little bit more of Out of the Dust.